Still January 4th, 2023. After that last video, I told you of that guy they talked about in Ravenna since the case started. Okay? The serial killer. People walk by my apartment. None of us thought it was funny when we found out they were using her as a pawn for those drug lords to fight it out. Did they ever mention that guy before? He's like, yeah, that's why we keep an eye on her, because people are disappearing. And they've talked about him. Oh, yeah. And it's like, he watches me. I know he does. I looked up. My smoke detector blinked 3 times. It's like, sweetie, I know you're there, aren't you? And it blinked 2 more times and stopped. I know he's there. For he enjoys watching her. Spends hours. He thinks it's funny. Every trap he sets, she finds a way out of. Even how to get a divorce with no money, she paid for it with a credit card. And how she got that apartment. And she'd rather starve than die. He thinks it's funny. She's finding ways out of his trap. I told you. And the men that work with him, they get around you. You have goosebumps. They make you have cold chills. I was hurt so bad. You watch Karen around. That's what made Karen around the house where they sold the login so popular. It was real serial killers doing it to me. Real serial killers. And this guy, like they said, we all know about him. He thinks it's funny trying to kill people. And he thinks it's funny killing people. We all know about him. Okay? And that's where the greatest hunt is hunting a human being. And then a weird statements of for when the time stops. It's who makes it out of his traps alive. Goes free. It's for who makes it out when the time elapses. Click. That's what reminded me of that when I said the time is up here. We at least got Dave out of us. Make sure no one ever sees of him ever again. For when the time elapses. Want you to think, where I talked to somebody that was a government official, used to be, okay? They said where these people are terrorists. They are terrorists. They're killing people. When the government deems them so dangerous, they'll just put a hit on them. They'll just put a hit on them. And they'll take them out because they're too dangerous. They're killing people. And then you got to think they're using me as a pawn. Well, who did they frame to take the fall for this? From Will to John to Pete to Michelle to Eric. They left their names all over it. I was in a gas station this morning. Some guy said, nobody found this funny. That ass set Will up to take the fall for this. I know he did. Because Will was a trap. Pay Will off not to get my money, not to hide me. The police not to step in. While people are dying, they took sheriffs and marshals out of this area to blow it up. Huh? Think about that. Now, who did they really set up? They're harming me and playing with me like cat and mouse. Trying to kill me from the guy finding entertainment, me finding ways out of his trap. He finds it amusing that I can find ways out of nothing. Okay? But who is he really setting up? Those people. Why? Because when the government deems them a terrorist group, killing people, and then he makes Will look really bad because he's supposed to be selling FBI technology, stealing from victims, accessory to murder. See what I mean? Who is he really setting up? Like those guys said, that ass set up Will. and Pete, Michelle, Eric, all of them. Because that way, someone else does his bidding for him. For I'm just a pawn. Who's the real target? Well, this man is a serial killer. They talked about him like they walked by my apartment. They talk about him before. She said, yeah, that's why we keep an eye on her. Because people are disappearing. And they talk about him. Oh, they talk about him. So who paid? We're going to ask a question. Who gave Pete the money to pay Will and John off? And then who gave that person that money? Follow the money trail back. I'll tell you what. And they used to laugh at me. And he'd leave messages and his man would show up. And you could feel goosebumps and cold. And your breath would be cold leaving your body. They terrorized me so bad up there of being human trafficked and drugged. And my skull bashed in and almost shot driving. And then the gunshot night of having a laser light cross my eyes and having to duck and while gunfire's going on. Huh? They're killing other people. I had to hide. They think it's funny killing people, well, and they really die. And that man is behind this. Huh? And if he's the one that they're saying he's taking people for experiments, he's really not funny. They already dismember people. You need to get him. He's a serial killer. And I heard people outside how nobody can get a hold of my ex-husband. You know, I seen on Google, there was another older man in Akron being held against his will, and somebody was using his phone. I don't think it's related or he wouldn't be alive. It's probably just some other weirdo. But this guy, he's setting those people up for the government to take care of. Because they were stupid enough to leave their name on it in front of people. But this guy, they talked about that pure evil man. And how he watches me. And how he thought it was funny. I was finding ways out of his traps. Of every one of them. He watches me for hours. I need out of here. Pull the case they talk about him in Ravenna. Also can. Follow the money back. Of who paid who. You'd probably be surprised who's actually